Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to get into something that I think is, it's actually quite painful for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
It's that specific kind of insomnia that comes from building something you believe in, but, feeling like you are just shouting into a void.
It's the classic question,
We are tackling the crisis of visibility.
right? It is the business world's version of the philosophical question. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, did it make a sound?
And in the startup world,
In the startup world, the answer is usually no, and it also ran out of money.
brutal, but very accurate. To really get us into the headspace of what we are analyzing today, I want to paint a picture for you that comes right from the source material.
Okay, let's do it.
It's a Tuesday afternoon in Cape Town. You have a founder sitting in a co-working space in Woodstock. The coffee is cold, the Wi-Fi is spotting in and out, and they are just staring at an email to TechCrunch.
The Holy Grail, the one every tech founder dreams about getting a reply from.
Exactly. And it's been sitting there unopened for 10 minutes because they are just terrified to click it.
We've all been there, that feeling of dread and hope all mixed together.
Finally, they muster the courage. Click, subject line, your pitch. And the body of the email. It's just 3 words.
Let me guess.
Not right now.
Ugh, that stings. It's polite, it's professional, and it is absolutely devastating. It's a door just slamming shut in your face.
But here is the kicker, and this is where the story gets really, almost infuriating. At that exact same moment across the Atlantic, there is a competitor.
Yeah.
They launched the same week. They have a nearly identical product, maybe even a slightly worse product, similar funding, but they just got a massive glossy feature in Forbes.
And so the assumption everyone makes, investors, customers, even the founder's own mom, is, well, the competitor must be better. The market has spoken.
Right. But the reality check here, and this is according to the sources we are deep diving into today, is that the competitor didn't have better code. They didn't have a better UI.
So what do they have?
They had a $15,000 a month PR agency on retainer.
Ah.
Meanwhile, our founder in Woodstock is drowning in browser tabs, trying to figure out how to write a press release at 2 in the morning while also fixing a bug in the back end.
And that leads us right to a statistic from CB Insights that really frames this entire discussion. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, this one stood out to me.
They did a postmortem on hundreds of failed startups, and they found that 20% of new ventures fail, not because they ran out of cash initially or because the team couldn't build the thing.
But because they got outcompeted.
Exactly. And in this context, outcompeted doesn't mean the other guy had better tech. It means nobody knew the first guy even existed. They lost the visibility war before it even started.
That is terrifying. 1 in 5 dreams just evaporating because of silence.
A huge number.
So our mission today is to explore what the source material calls a third path. Because usually you think you only have 2 options, right?
Right. You either pay the massive agency fee that you absolutely can't afford, or you try to do it all yourself and just completely burn out.
And this third path is a really fascinating operational model. We are going to be analyzing the model used by a company called VA Connect.
That's VA Connect.
Exactly. We are looking specifically at how managed virtual assistant services are completely reshaping media relations and really startup operations as a whole.
It's not the agency model, and it's not the DIY model. It's something else entirely. It's a hybrid.
And just so everyone knows where we are getting this information, we are pulling from internal white papers on media relations. We've got industry reports from Decision and Muckrack, some heavy hitter data. And we have operational documents from VA Connect themselves looking at their culture and structure.
So we are going deep into the machinery of how this actually works.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with the problem itself. The documents call it the PR crisis. And I think everyone listening knows it's hard to get press, but I didn't realize just how broken the system is until I read this Cision 2025 Global Comms Report.
It's fascinating data, but if you work in communications, it's honestly a bit depressing. The report highlights that earned media. So we're talking about organic press, interviews, features.
Not the ads you pay for.
Exactly, not the ads you pay Zuckerberg for.
Yeah.
It's harder to secure than ever before. And this isn't just hard for startups.
Yeah.
72% of professional PR practitioners say it's gotten more difficult for them.
Wait, hang on. Pause on that. If the professionals, the people with the Rolodexes and the expensive lunches, if they're struggling, what chance does a founder have?
Statistically, very, very little. It creates this paradox, To get customers, you need credibility.
Sure.
To get credibility, you usually need media coverage or some kind of third-party validation. But to get media coverage, journalists today, they want to see that you already have customers and traction.
It's the ultimate catch-22. I can't get a job without experience, and I can't get experience without a job. It's that, but for building a company.
It really is. And it applies to funding, too. You need the Series A funding to pay for the high-end PR, but you often need the PR buzz to even get the Series A funding meetings in the first place.
It's a loop, a death spiral that kills companies.
It is.
And the rejection rate is just, it's demoralizing. There was data from USORP in the packet that made my jaw drop.
You're talking about the digital PR benchmarking data. Yeah, that's a tough one to swallow. It shows that only 3% of media pitches even get a response.
3%. That is a 97% failure rate.
Think about the labor involved there. Just really think about that. That means for every single conversation, you actually start with a journalist. And that's not even a guaranteed story. That's just a reply.
Just a hello.
Just a hello.
Yeah.
For that one reply, you have to send 97 customized, thoughtful pitches that go absolutely nowhere.
97 failures for one potential win.
And that's where the brutal math, as the source calls it, comes in. Because if you are a founder, you literally do not have the hours in the day to send 100 emails to get one reply. You're supposed to be building a company.
So you look at the traditional options, option A,
Yeah.
the agency.
And we need to really unpack why the agency model is failing startups specifically. It's not that agencies are evil or bad at their jobs.
No.
It's that the economic model is just fundamentally misaligned with an early-stage company.
So the source material outlines the standard agency fee. What are we talking about here?
You are looking at a monthly retainer of anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. And that's often a minimum for a credible tech PR firm in a major market like New York or San Francisco.
So doing the math, that is what, $120,000 to $180,000 a year?
At least.
For a seed stage startup, that is an entire senior engineer. That's your first marketing hire. That is months and months of runway.
Exactly. But let's look deeper at the agency flaw mentioned in the analysis. Why does it cost that much? And what are you actually getting for it?
Good question.
Agencies optimize for their business model, not yours. That $15,000 retainer. A big chunk of that goes to the shiny office in Manhattan or London. A chunk goes to the senior partner who sold you the deal, but who you'll probably never see again.
And the person who's actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Sending the emails.
Usually a junior associate, maybe an account coordinator. And here is the rub. That associate isn't just working for you. They are juggling 5, maybe 6, maybe 8 different clients.
Wow.
They have to. That's how the agency makes a profit. They leverage that junior talent across multiple accounts.
So you're fighting for attention even with the people you're paying.
You're in a constant battle for their mind share. Imagine this scenario from the source. You are a small startup launching a new feature. It's huge for you. It's your whole quarter. But that same account manager has an enterprise client, say, a Coca-Cola or a Salesforce, doing an earnings call or handling a major crisis.
Guess who gets the priority?
The big fish. Every single time.
Of course.
So you are paying this premium price, but you are structurally designed to be the lowest priority on their list. Your big launch competes with the enterprise client's earnings call, and you lose. It's just simple math for them.
Okay, so option A is expensive, and you might get ignored. That sounds terrible. So let's look at option B, hiring in-house. You just hire a PR person to sit next to you.
Which seems logical on the surface. You control their time, their focus. But again, you have to look at the numbers. An entry-level PR hire someone fresh out of college, maybe a little green, is going to cost you $65,000 to $85,000 in salary in a major tech hub.
And that's just salary. That's not the full cost.
Not even close. You've got to add benefits, payroll taxes. Then there's overhead. The source mentions about $20,000 in overhead and benefits per year.
And what about just finding them?
Don't forget recruitment costs. The SHRM, that's the Society for Human Resource Management, their average recruitment cost is over $4,000 just to find the person.
So your first year all-in cost is pushing $100,000.
Easily. You're at about $100,000. And that's for a junior person who might not have the contacts yet, who might not know the industry. So you are basically paying $100,000 for someone to learn how to do the job on your dime.
It's a huge gamble.
It's a massive risk.
Yeah.
If they don't work out or if they burn out in 6 months and leave, that money's just gone.
Yeah.
And you're back at square one, but with less money in the bank.
So this brings us to the third path that VA Connect proposes, the managed virtual assistant.
Right.
Now, I want to be clear because I think virtual assistant has a bit of a stigma. We are not talking about hiring a random person on a gig app for $5 an hour to order your lunch.
No, and that distinction is absolutely crucial, which we will get to in a minute. But strictly looking at the financial model first, the difference is stark. A dedicated VA for media relations through a managed service like VA Connect costs between $1,000 and $3,000 a month.
That is a massive delta. I mean, let's just pick a number in the middle. Say $1,700 versus $12,000 for an agency.
It's huge. The source gives a specific example of an 80-hour monthly package. So that's a half-time employee, effectively, 20 hours a week.
Okay.
If you went the agency route for that amount of time based on their hourly billables, you're paying about $12,000. With the managed VA model, it's around $1,728.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. $1,728. That triggers my too good to be true alarm. Usually when I hear a price that low for skilled labor, I assume we are talking about exploitative wages or a sweatshop environment. How does the math actually work without someone getting screwed?
That is a very fair question, and it's one we absolutely need to address. It comes down to a concept called purchasing power parity and the specific economic structure of South Africa, where VA Connect is based.
So it's about the cost of living.
Exactly. We'll dive deeper into the geography later, but essentially, that rate allows for a professional middle-class lifestyle in a city like Cape Town or Johannesburg. It's not gig work. It's a career salary in that local context.
So it's arbitrage, but ethical arbitrage. Is that the idea?
That's the argument the source material makes, and the runway argument that follows is incredibly compelling for any founder. That savings isn't just extra pocket money.
No, it's survival.
It's life or death for a startup. That difference of over $123,000 a year is an extra 6 to 9 months of runway. It is the ability to hire that senior developer you desperately need. It fundamentally changes the survival odds of the company.
It effectively democratizes the ability to compete for attention. You don't need the $15,000 budget to get in the game anymore.
Exactly.
But I know what some listeners are thinking, okay, it's cheaper and maybe it's ethical, but can they actually do the job? Because there is another elephant in the room, and that elephant is AI.
The ChatGPT question.
It's the huge question right now. I have a browser tab open with ChatGPT. It costs me $20 a month. Why am I hiring a human, even a relatively inexpensive one, when I can just tell the AI, write me a press release about my Series A and blast it out? It's basically free, it's instant. Why bother with a person at all?
This is one of the most interesting sections of the research we have.
Yeah.
It's the human-in-the-loop workflow. Because you are right, the temptation for a cash-strapped founder is to automate everything. Just let the robot do it.
Of course.
But the data shows that AI alone actually fails pretty hard in PR.
Why? I mean, it writes pretty good emails. The grammar is perfect.
It writes grammatically correct emails. But there was a study from NP Digital mentioned in the notes that is just devastating for the AI-only crowd. They tracked performance over 5 months.
And what did they find?
They found that human-written content generates 5.44 times more traffic than AI-generated content.
5 times more traffic. That isn't a small margin of error. That's a landslide.
It is. It's a huge difference. And there was a great quote from a strategist at Arifs in the white paper. They said, AI content is like a Wikipedia page. It's informative, sure, but it's completely forgettable. It builds no trust.
And trust is the only currency that matters when you are pitching a journalist, right?
It's everything. Think about the journalist's inbox. They're getting 500 pitches a day. They are actively looking for reasons to hit the delete button.
They're looking for the spam filter.
Exactly. And the research shows that 50% of consumers, and I'd argue probably 99% of journalists, can spot AI copy now. Yeah, as a certain flatness to it, a lack of personality.
I hope this email finds you well vibe.
Exactly that vibe. And when they see it, the brand perception tanks. It makes the company look lazy or impersonal. And the subtext is, if you can't be bothered to write a real email to me, why should I be bothered to write a story about you?
So if you are sending an AI-written pitch, you are basically flagging yourself as spam. You're putting your own email in the junk folder.
You are. So VA Connect advocates for this hybrid model. It's an assembly line, and it's quite clever when you break it down.
Okay, let's unpack that workflow. How does the assembly line work?
So step 1 is AI. AI is fantastic for the grunt work. Let the robot do the robot work. It can do the initial research, it can scrape databases for potential journalists, it can draft a basic outline or a first draft of a pitch.
So it solves the blank page problem.
Perfectly. It saves huge amounts of time on that initial tedious part of the process. It's the engine, but it's not the driver.
Okay, so you use the robot for the robot work. Then what?
Then, step 2 is the human VA. This is the refinement layer. The VA takes that raw AI-generated material and injects voice, nuance, and personalization. They make it human.
The source material had some really specific examples of this that I loved, like the relationship notes.
Yes, this is a perfect illustration. An AI might see a journalist's name, an email, in a database. It's just a data point. But a human VA who has been monitoring that journalist's Twitter feed for weeks notices context.
What kind of context?
They might see a tweet and say, hey, this reporter just changed beats. They aren't covering crypto anymore. They're covering AI policy now. The database is wrong. Or they just tweeted yesterday that they hate pitches that start with specific buzzwords.
Lass, I hate those too. Synergy, paradigm shift, disrupt.
We all do, but AI doesn't know that context unless you explicitly tell it, and you can't tell it what you don't know. A human, browsing social media, spots that nuance instantly.
That's a great point. What about crisis management?
That's another one. If you are responding to a delicate situation, a customer complaint, some bad press, an AI cannot judge the tone. It might sound too clinical or defensive, or worse, insincere. A human can read the room and craft a response that feels empathetic.
There's also a conversion stat from a LinkedIn study that I thought was significant.
The sales copy study, yes. It showed human-written copy converts at 2.5% versus AI-written copy at 2.1%.
Now, hold on. 2.5% versus 2.1%. That sounds like a rounding error. I mean, does that 0.4% difference really matter that much?
It sounds small, but you have to do the math on volume. At scale, for a startup, that is massive. Let's say you're a B2B company reaching out to 1,000 potential leads.
Okay.
With AI copy, you get 21 responses. With human copy, you get 25. That's 4 extra conversations, 4 extra chances to make a sale. For an early-stage company, that could be your first 10 paying customers over a few months. It's the difference between traction and stagnation. In a game of inches, you take every fraction of a percent you can get.
So the VA isn't just a typist. They are a quality control filter that keeps you from looking like a robot. They are the human in the loop that bridges the gap between AI efficiency and human effectiveness.
Precisely. They are the value add layer.
Now, we touched on this earlier, but we need to talk about the managed part of VA Connect, because I think a lot of people listening have probably tried hiring a VA from a random freelance site. You know the ones, Upwork, Fiverr, and it's been, well, a disaster.
It's the classic horror story. You spend hours sifting through profiles, you finally hire someone, you spend 2 weeks training them on your systems, and then they just disappear. They ghost you.
Where the quality is just all over the place. One day it's great, the next day it's unusable.
Or, and this is the most common one, you find yourself spending more time managing them and correcting their work than it would take to just do the work yourself.
Yes, you've defeated the whole purpose of delegating.
That is the freelance trap. You don't realize that you aren't just hiring a worker, you are becoming an HR manager, a trainer, a project manager, and a supervisor. And most founders are terrible at all of those things.
So how is a managed service provider different?
The managed model, which VA Connect uses, is designed to remove that entire burden from you. You're not hiring an individual, you're plugging into an existing infrastructure.
So let's look at VA Connect specifically. The source says it was founded back in 2008 by Karen, an entrepreneur who apparently loves systems, and they rebranded to VA Connect in 2014. Now they're Africa's largest managed VA agency.
And that scale matters because it implies a robust infrastructure. They have delivered over 250,000 hours of service. But the number that really stood out to me in the documents, and this is the one I want to highlight for everyone, was the retention rate.
98%?
98% client retention over a 14-month period. That is an insane number in the service industry.
Why is that specific stat so important for something like PR? I mean, high retention is good for any business, but why is it so critical here?
Because PR is a relationship business. It's all about consistency and trust. If you hire a freelancer and they quit after 3 months, all the knowledge they built up about your company, all the rapport they started to build with key journalists, poof, it's gone. You are starting from zero again.
You're retraining someone new every single quarter. That just sounds exhausting.
It completely kills your momentum. Stability is a strategic advantage. If you keep the same VA for 14 months or longer, they start to anticipate your needs. They know the journalist by name. They remember that the reporter at TechCrunch loves dogs. and has a specific pet peeve about email subject lines.
They become an asset.
They become an asset that appreciates in value over time, not a disposable resource you have to keep replacing.
So how do they keep retention that high? Because burnout in this industry remote work, high pressure is legendary. Usually these call centers or VA farms, they burn through people like fuel.
They've built an internal ecosystem specifically to fight it. And this is where the model gets really interesting. It's not just about paying people a fair wage, it's about investing in them and treating them like professionals.
So what does that look like in practice?
The source material details a few proprietary programs they've built. The first one is called VA Varsity.
Pronounced VA varsity. I like that. It sounds collegiate.
It is. It's basically their internal university. It's an online Udemy-style platform that is completely free for all of their VAs. So if a new tool comes out, say a new media monitoring platform or a new AI prompting technique, the VAs can go on VA Varsity and get trained up immediately.
So the client doesn't have to pay for that training or spend time doing it.
Right. Usually if you hire a freelancer, you have to teach them the new tool. You have to buy the course for them. Here, the agency absorbs the cost and the effort of keeping their talent pool on the cutting edge. It turns the VA into a lifelong learner.
That's a huge value add. And then there's atomic energy, which sounds like a superhero power or maybe an energy drink.
It's actually a wellness initiative, but it's incredibly smart business when you think about it. They provide custom diet plans, exercise programs, and even mobility coaches for their team.
Mobility coaches for virtual assistants.
Think about it. These are knowledge workers sitting at desks for 8 to 10 hours a day. What is the #1 killer of productivity in desk jobs?
Burnout, fatigue.
Physical fatigue, back pain, eye strain, repetitive stress injuries. By integrating mobility coaching directly into the workflow, VA Connect isn't just being nice. They're protecting their asset. They're ensuring that at 3 p.m., when your crucial press release needs to go out, the VA isn't fighting a migraine or a crippling lower back spasm.
That is actually really forward thinking. Usually, BPO business process outsourcing is seen as creating burnout. This model is actively designed to prevent it. It's like biological optimization for intellectual work.
It is. And then the last pillar they mention is a program called VBness.
VPness, VAPI-ness.
Exactly. It stands for two-way happiness. It's a monitoring program that proactively tracks the happiness and satisfaction of both the client and the VA.
Oh, that's interesting. Usually, companies only care if the client is happy. The customer is always right.
Right. But VA Connect realized that if the VA is miserable because the client is abusive or completely disorganized or has totally unrealistic expectations, that VA will eventually quit. And then the client loses that institutional knowledge we talked about.
And the company has to recruit and train a new person.
Right. So VPness tries to catch that friction before it becomes a resignation letter. A dedicated manager checks in with both sides to make sure the relationship is healthy.
It's like couples therapy for you and your VA.
In a way, yes. It protects the relationship. It acknowledges that for this to work long term, both sides need to be satisfied and feel respected.
So we've established the model works because of this infrastructure. But let's go back to the geography. You mentioned it. VA Connect is based in South Africa, and the source material argues this isn't just a random choice, it's a major strategic advantage. You called it time zone arbitrage.
Yes. Let's visualize the clock for a second. South Africa is on GMT+2. That is a perfect sweet spot for global business.
How so?
It aligns perfectly with European business hours. So if your market is London, Berlin, Paris, your VA is working the exact same day as you. No lag. But critically, it also catches the U.S. East Coast morning.
Why does that specific overlap matter so much for PR?
The news cycle. It's all about speed. Imagine it's 2:00 p.m. in Cape Town. The VA has had their coffee, they've cleared their inbox, they're in deep work mode. In New York, it's 7:00 or 8:00. The journalists are just waking up, checking their phones in bed or on the subway.
This is the golden window.
It's the absolute golden window. Your VA is operating at their peak afternoon efficiency, exactly when the target audience is coming online and planning their day. You land in their inbox first.
If you were outsourcing to, say, Asia, the Philippines, or India, what's the difference?
It's a huge difference. If you are in Asia, you are likely working the graveyard shift to hit U.S. hours, which is a recipe for burnout and mistakes. Or your team is completely asleep just as the news cycle in New York is heating up.
So a story breaks and you can't react for 8 hours.
Exactly. That lag isn't just an inconvenience. In PR, it's the difference between being the story and being old news. South Africa's time zone allows for same-day, real-time email exchanges during normal biological hours for the worker. It's a massive, massive advantage.
That makes total sense. Speed kills in news. What about the language aspect? The source mentions linguistic precision.
This is a sensitive but really important topic in outsourcing. English is a primary business language in South Africa. It's not just a textbook second language. It's how business is done. It's the lingua franca of their economy.
Right. It's a first language for many, or at the very least, a primary commercial language they use every day.
And in PR, that's not a small detail. You aren't just communicating information. You are communicating tone, idiom, cultural references. If you get the nuance wrong, you look foreign or out of touch, and your email goes straight to the trash.
You break that trust we talked about.
You break the trust. The source notes that South Africa consistently ranks as a leading destination for business English, precisely because of that neutral accent and deep cultural alignment with the West.
It allows the VA to ghostwrite for the founder more effectively. They can sound like you, using the same idioms and sentence structures without it feeling forced.
Exactly. They can capture your voice.
And then, of course, the economics. We mentioned the savings earlier, but let's talk about the cost of living again. You said it's ethical.
Well, the rates, which work out to around $21.60 per hour for the half-day package, are competitive with places like the Philippines. But the argument from the source is that you are getting that time zone advantage and that Western cultural alignment for a similar price.
And importantly, that rate supports a professional career in South Africa.
It's a living wage and then some.
Mm.
It's not gig work. These are people building careers, buying homes, supporting families. And that goes right back to that high retention rate. You are hiring a professional who is invested in their career, not a gig worker who might churn tomorrow. It creates a sustainable ecosystem rather than an extractive one.
So let's say a listener is sold. They are that founder in Woodstock, or maybe they're in Austin or London, and they are just tired of the silence. How do they actually do this? Because hiring is hard, and onboarding is even harder.
Right.
The source material breaks it down into a phased integration.
This is the how-to manual part of the deep dive. And I love this because it's so practical. It breaks the engagement down into 3 distinct phases to avoid that feeling of being totally overwhelmed.
Phase 1, foundation building. This is month 1 and month 2. What happens here?
This is all the unsexy foundational work that founders hate doing, but is absolutely critical for success. It's database creation, it's media monitoring setup, it's building the target lists.
And this is where that cost difference we talked about really shines.
It really does.
Yeah.
An agency might charge you $5,000 just to set this all up, billing you for access to their proprietary tools and databases. A VA does it for, say, $1,500 using your tools in your systems.
And crucially, and this is a tactical win mentioned in the source, you own the database.
Yes.
Wait, explain that. That sounds like a small detail, but I feel like it's actually really important.
It's huge. It's a game changer. If you hire a PR agency, they have the contacts. They have the relationship with the journalist. If you fire that agency, you lose the contacts. They walk away with the Rolodex you paid them to build.
Yeah. You are held hostage by their relationships.
100%. But if a VA builds that database in your system, in your company's CRM, or even just a Google Sheet, and then the VA leaves, or you end the contract, you still have the database. You own the asset. You are building your own intellectual property.
That is massive leverage. Okay, so phase 2 is months 3 and 4. This is called rhythm.
This is where the machine you built in phase 1 starts humming. It's about establishing a regular cadence of pitching and tracking. This is where the founder's time investment starts to drop dramatically.
The goal is to get the founder down to just 2 to 3 hours a week on this stuff, right?
Exactly. The founder should only be involved in high-level strategy. Here is the story we want to tell this month, or the actual interviews themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The VA handles all the logistics, the scheduling, the follow-ups, and filtering out the rejections so the founder's morale stays high.
And then phase 3, optimization. This is month 5 and beyond.
This is where the VA is really proactive. They're handling all the follow-ups. And the follow-up system is key here. Most PR opportunities die simply because people don't follow up.
Or they follow up way too much and get annoying and get themselves blocked.
Right, there's a fine line. A good VA can systematize the graceful exit, or the pivot. If a journalist says no to angle A, the VA knows to make a note, wait 3 weeks, and then pitch them on angle B, which might be a better fit. It ensures you never burn a bridge.
I noticed in the source material there is also a permanent placement option. It sounded almost like a headhunting feature baked into the service.
It is fascinating, isn't it? If a startup falls in love with their VA, which apparently happens quite often, They can pay a one-time fee to VA Connect and then hire that person directly onto their own payroll.
And the fee was listed as 88,000 Rand.
Correct, 88,000 Rand, which, depending on the exchange rate, is roughly 4,400 to 4,500 US dollars.
That is incredibly cheap for a headhunting fee. Usually, recruiters take 20 or even 30% of the first year's salary. This is a flat fee.
It completely converts the service model into a recruitment model. It gives the startup total flexibility. You can rent the talent for as long as you need, or you can buy the talent if they become indispensable. It's a try before you buy approach to hiring international talent, which de-risks the process massively.
So we've talked a lot about PR, but the source material suggests this model applies to way more than just media relations. They call it the growth accelerator concept.
Right. VA Connect doesn't just do general VAs. They segment their talent pool into specializations.
Yeah.
You have marketing VAs, which is what we've been discussing, but you also have sales VAs people who can act as sales development reps, manage your CRM, and qualify leads.
And executive VAs.
Executive VAs who handle the calendar and inbox, and even specialized devs or project managers.
And the strategy they suggest is stacking.
Stacking is brilliant. Imagine an octopus. You, the founder, are the head. The VAs are the arms. Instead of hiring one mid-level generalist locally for, say, $80,000 a year, you can stack multiple specialists.
So what would that look like?
You could hire a dedicated marketing VA for half the day and a dedicated sales VA for the other half of the day for about $3,500 total per month.
So you get 2 specialists for less than the price of one local generalist hire.
Exactly. You are doubling your bandwidth and getting specialized expertise in 2 critical growth areas for your business.
And then there is the executive productivity piece. There was a report from ServiceNow cited here that really hit home for me.
Yes. The finding that executives spend, on average, 16 hours a week on administrative tasks.
16 hours, that is 2 full workdays every single week.
2 days a week just lost to scheduling, email management, filing expenses, booking travel, all low-value work that has to get done but doesn't move the business forward.
If you delegate that to an executive VA, you recover nearly 800 hours a year.
Think about what 800 hours actually looks like. That is 20 standard 40-hour work weeks. That is 5 months of work.
Wow.
Exactly. If I told you I can give you a 17-month year while all your competitors only have 12 months, you'd think I was offering you a magic pill. But that is what this delegation actually represents. It's not about avoiding laundry. It's about having 5 extra months of strategic focus to outmaneuver the market.
And if you value a founder's time at even a conservative $100 an hour,
that's $80,000 in recovered opportunity cost if we use the 800 hours. The source says it's $160K, so they must be assuming a founder's time is worth $200 an hour. That is time you could be spending on product, on investor meetings, on high-level strategy. It's not just about saving money on the admin. It's about making a lot more money with the time you save.
that really frames it differently. It's not an expense on your P&L. It's an investment in your own capacity and focus.
Precisely. It's leverage.
So let's wrap this all up. We started with the founder in Woodstock, getting that "not right now" email, staring at the screen. What does this third path actually offer them?
It offers a way out of that brutal binary choice between bankruptcy and burnout. You don't have to pay the agency $15,000 you don't have, and you don't have to stay up until 3 a.m. doing it all yourself.
You can build a system instead of trying to be a hero.
You can build a system. VA Connect and models like it offer a managed, culturally aligned, well-trained, thanks to things like VA Varsity and human-centric workforce that you can plug into.
It seems like the core message here really is about sustainability.
It is. Sustainable growth isn't about heroics. It isn't about the founder pulling all-nighters to send 100 emails. It is about building an architecture, a machine, where those emails get sent automatically, efficiently, and effectively by a competent professional.
The source material had a closing thought that I really loved. It asked us to reimagine that "not right now" rejection email.
Yes. The idea is that with the right support, with a VA who has done the research, personalized the angle, and followed up at the right time with the right message, the next email you get isn't "not right now."
It's "tell me more."
Tell me more. And that one response, that one open door, can change the entire trajectory of the company.
It changes everything.
Everything.
So for everyone listening, whether you are running a startup or just feel like you're drowning in admin in your own career, maybe take a look at your week. Find out where those 16 hours are going. Maybe there is a third path for you too.
Indeed.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.